Hey guys and gals, Never here from Drake Gaming and City Mountain Twitter, the Gaming Dragon. Today I'm coming back at you with a Let's Play episode of Kingsguard, Koshiro's Path. So let's go ahead and jump right back in, shall we? Alarm chain, you were up, and let's go! Koshiro helped you sit down on the rustic steps until you caught your breath. What the shaman had said about this place was true, that those who weren't welcomed in would feel something different. You turned towards Koshiro, who was still concerned, and wondered if he had to endure that feeling for the entire time you were in the temple. He really was something else if he did. Koshiro stopped you at a small building, a place to get something to eat. Once the two of you stepped inside, though, you knew immediately that you weren't welcome, or at least Koshiro wasn't. Commotion and laughter turned to silence, and everyone's eyes were on the fox. Even the server stopped what she was doing to give Koshiro a cold stare. Rather than causing any more disturbances, Koshiro headed back outside and sat at a bench while you attempted to order something light. Surprisingly, once the fox had left, while the eyes were on you now, it was less of an intense stare and more of curiosity. These people were really hypocrites. Their hatred of Koshiro because he was an outsider, yet they seemed to express no displeasure towards you, also an outsider. You sucked it up, though, and smiled once you had ordered and waited outside with your guardian. The sun beamed down, and despite the heavy clothes you were wearing, it kept you cool. They allowed a gentle breeze to slip through the cracks, and you were thankful that Koshiro had given you these clothes to wear. Koshiro, on the other hand, was likely sweating under that mask. You could tell that he wanted to remove it, but he stayed true to his word of keeping it on. Jake, you had started something back at the temple before I had rudely interrupted you. If you would like to continue, I'm all ears. Oh, right. What was I saying again? You were about to tell me what had happened within the temple. The shaman had guided you inside. Right. That. Your hand held onto the blade at your side, squeezing the handle tightly, though you stopped when you worried that the paper would rip. As you spoke to Koshiro, telling him about the bizarre ritual with the blade and your talk about the vision you had of the village, you expected him to look at you in disbelief or even to look at you like you were crazy. But he stayed silent and listened to every word as though it was your last. By the time you were finished, you could hardly believe that all happened to you yourself. You left out the part of her warning, though, the one about you having to watch out for someone with teeth. While you felt it might have been good to warn him about it, you knew that he likely already had enough on his plate to be concerned about. Everyone has fucking teeth! The server came out and placed down 2 steaming cups of tea along with a snack that Koshiro had called a dango. Is it going to be like a banner of a tooth or something like that? It's going to be something obvious. It didn't have the sweetness that you were used to with cakes and pies at the castle, but it was still enjoyable nonetheless. That is a lot to take in. I'm sorry I wasn't able to be there for you. I know. You have customs to follow, and I wouldn't want to get you in any trouble for my sake. I would abandon this village if it came to saving you. I'm just glad you came out of that all right. But now I'm not so certain I should leave your side. That sword you carry. If it is truly as dangerous as the shaman says, then perhaps I should stay, especially if the word of the village's destruction is true. Bringing you here, it might not have been the best idea. I truly am sorry. Well, as long as I don't use this blade, I'll be safe. And there's always the possibility that my dream doesn't come true. I trusted your word that this village is one of the safest places in the world for me to be, and I can see why. It's secluded, deep in the forest, and your people here are all well trained to fight. I know because I've seen the way you move. I'll be fine here. Besides, your mission is more important. If that army reaches our doorstep, I'm not going to be the only one suffering. They'll likely slaughter hundreds, thousands of people. We can't let them do that. You have to leave and find our allies in Brahm so that we are prepared for this war. Koshiro was at a loss for words as he stared down into his tea. Hey, I can defend myself if need be. Leandro's trained me himself. I truly wish there was more that I could do for you, but... Koshiro reached behind his back and withdrew a dagger and held it out to you. Here. What's this for? Protection. They have served me well for many years, but if I am going to leave you, then I want you to have something to defend yourself just in case you are unable to use that blade. Are you sure you want to give me something like this? Do not be concerned if you think it a keepsake or something of sentimental value to me. It is simply a blade, and I can always find another. Alright. You carefully wrapped your hands around the handle and held it up into the light. It was worn with use, but overall you could tell that Koshiro had taken great care of it. Think of it as a promise for when I get back. Keep it safe for me and stay safe yourself. You secured it next to your blade and wiggled around a bit to make sure it wouldn't suddenly fall off. Let's just hope that I won't have to use it. Koshiro quickly finished his tea, but left his sweets untouched and offered them to you instead. After dusting himself off, the two of you walked onwards to meet with the Elder. Your heart started to beat faster and faster as you moved through the town. You'd only seen this mysterious white wolf twice. Once in your dream, and the other time last night, and both times caused such a haunting chill throughout your body. Like a memory locked away, you somehow knew this beast man, but you didn't know why. Did he visit the castle a few times when you were little and you just didn't remember? We have arrived. Koshiro stopped by an inconspicuous-looking house not much different from the surrounding buildings, and you nearly bumped into his back still walking around in your daydream. This is where your elder lives? Koshiro nodded. Huh. Guess I was expecting something a bit more grand. A home more boastful than the god's own is a penchant for disaster. Your gods really are everything here, aren't they? I know to you that gods aren't something you like to believe in, but religion gives people hope in desperate times and guides people down proper paths. I'm going to disagree with that last part, not always. Yes, in the giving people hope department, but guiding people down a proper path, not so much. It depends heavily on who is teaching them, and their own personal morals and values. If it weren't for the gods watching down on me every waking hour, I don't know what kind of person I would have become. I suppose I should thank them for that. You should be proud of who you are. Koshiro turned his head away, rubbed a hand at the back of his head. Anyway... Come. It is time to meet with the Elder. He has been waiting to meet you for some time now. It's like, no. In the trees, you caught the sight of several eyes glaring down at you from above. You looked even more on edge as you came closer to the door, but they stood their ground. Koshiro knocked on the door several times in a pattern, and it opened up quickly. He bowed, arching his entire body in a 90-degree angle, then holding position for a few seconds before stepping inside while you followed suit. You stepped into the home and felt more on edge than normal. It was similar to Koshiro's home, a bit larger but equally as meager and empty. It had fared much better with the passing of time than the fox's small abode in the woods. There wasn't a speck of dust anywhere, and the floor was polished and clean. But despite the humbleness of the home, at least compared to what you were used to back at the castle, or even at the shrine, you felt compelled to be on your best behavior. Your back straightened, and you became so nervous your feet were about to give away any second. You had rehearsed the script in your head. What would happen when you met the Elder, this Seshiro? Like with the shaman, though, all that preparation and bravado vanished. Instead, you went to tug on Koshiro's clothes, wishing to tell him to take you back. A fear of the unknown clouded your thoughts, and you wanted to leave. Before you could do any of that, a deep voice spoke from the room in front of you. You have arrived. Please, come in. Like with Koshiro's home, a thin sliding door separated you from the man you were about to meet. All you could see was a shadow looming beyond. Koshiro did as he was told and slid the door open. The room before you was a bit more decorated. A table in front held several empty cups, a plate of snacks, and a steaming pot of tea. Beyond that was a cabinet of sorts. Held within were small trinkets, another plate of food, and some incense. A figure in a long white robe was nestled before it, bowing low with his head to the floor as though in prayer. It looked to be a miniature shrine of sorts. As you stepped inside, the figure rose his head from the floor and then started to stand ever so slowly. The instant your eyes met his, a fierce chill ran down your spine. Those azure eyes, that silvery fur, the wise but aged face. They looked so familiar. Now that you had finally had a good look at this beastman, unobscured by the dark or blurred about through your dream, you could now say for certain, you had always known this man. Second, y'all. Water time. Alright, guys and gals, and we are back. Let's go ahead and jump back into it. You had always known this man, but from where and when? That mystery still remained as you tried to dig through your memories for the 1000th time, hoping to find something to validate why you felt that you had known him. There were a few beastmen back home who were old and had features not unlike his, but the ghostly color of his fur was like day and night. Despite his elderly appearance, he still stood with grandeur, an incredible aura of authority surrounding him, bright like the sun. 1 second. Okay, sorry about that, y'all. Despite his elderly appearance, he still stood with some grandeur, an incredible aura of authority surrounding him, bright like the sun. He reminded you too much of your father, an aged man, but not one to be taken lightly. Even for just this one meeting, you knew he was a force to be reckoned with. Being the leader of the village, you had no doubt he likely was also trained in combat like Koshiro and Hayusuke. Even with the short training that Leandros had taught you, you found that he had no openings, even when his back was turned. And now that he was standing before you, you knew you had no chance against him. You doubted Leandros or even Ramos would be able to take him on without first being cautious. What voice? Jake, you've grown so much since I've last seen you. His voice was sharp and crisp like dried leaves, but smooth as though his words floated on water. Your eyes quickly darted back up to his face as he opened his mouth to speak again. You're looking more and more like your mother and father each day. I still remember when you were only up to my knees. You couldn't even mutter a sound. Your mind was still trying to find the right words to say. His voice was so familiar as well. You knew that you had heard it before. Just meeting this beast man was going to leave a lasting impression long after you left, one that you would never forget. So why was it that you felt this way? Why didn't you have any recollection of him? Please have a seat. We have much to discuss. The old man pointed to a cushion and smiled, but you still felt weary. Cautiously, you moved closer to the table and took your seat, your eyes not once leaving him, not once blinking for a second. Perhaps he was oblivious to your unease, but he kept a kindly grin on his face the entire time. Once you were well situated, he turned to look back at the door. Koshiro, you as well. You didn't even realize that Koshiro was still outside the room because you were so transfixed on the white wolf. At the elder's behest, the fox obeyed, closing the door behind him and also taking a seat. Before uttering another word, the elder also sat down, a slight groan escaping his lips as though his joints were causing him pain. As he reached for the teapot, Koshiro moved faster, grabbing it before the old man had a chance. Without the white wolf uttering a single word, Koshiro was already pouring him a cup and then pouring himself one as well. He kept his eyes on his duty, not turning his head up to even look at you. He had seen this side of Koshiro before with your father, his respect and willingness to move without command. Thank you, Koshiro. Koshiro remained silent, nodding his head once as he returned to his complacent position, with his hand folded in his lap and his eyes turned to the floor. The elder reached forth with his cup, took a long sip of his tea, and then turned towards you. Jake, tell me, how are you feeling? I hope the accommodations I have made for you have been sufficient. I know it's nothing like what the castle provides, but I made sure you had everything you would need. Are you still tired? I can see that you have bags around your eyes. I imagine after everything you have been through must have been exhausting, but you are in safe hands now, so there is no need to worry. But if there is anything that I can arrange to make your stay here more comfortable, let me know. You'll be spending a lot of time with us in the village until things settle down, so I'd like you to see this as your new home. You couldn't find the right words to say. Was this really the same man that you saw in your vision? The one that changed into that monstrous form and tempted Koshiro? Worse yet, was despite it all, you somehow felt a bit at ease. He was talking to you as though you knew each other your whole lives, like this was just some kind of get-together. I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there, y'all. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon or YouTube memberships if you can. It always helps. Anyway, I love you all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye!